Well, hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you're here today. I don't think this will be a very long video, but then again, I get pretty chatty, so we'll just see what happens. I just wanted today to share with you some of the homemaker hacks, tricks, tips, things that I have been doing recently that I've really been enjoying, that have really been making my life a little bit more simple, and hopefully they will help you as well. And maybe there are already things that you are doing. If you have more ideas, please drop them down in the comments below. I would love to glean wisdom from you as well. So let's get started. Number one, I picked up some cooler box bags from Aldi a while back. I had been looking at these on Amazon and I think they were like $20 a piece, and I wanted 2 or 3, so I just left them in my cart for a while, saved them for later. And then one day I was strolling the aisle at Aldi, and there they were in their most beloved, like, miscellaneous seasonal aisle. There they were. They were perfect. And I got 2 of them, $5 a piece. Awesome. And I just love them so much. It just makes it so much more convenient for obvious reasons, like when you're getting groceries and you have cold things, you put them in the cooler to help keep them cool longer. However, what I love so much about it is whenever you are trying to unload a car with a trunk full of groceries and you have 2 very small children, it is a game changer because that way I am able to get all of my cold stuff out, and usually most of it all does fit in those 2 bags. So usually I can get all of my cold stuff out first. I don't have to search through bags to figure out what is the cold stuff. I just grab it and go, and then I can get my girls out, and if I need to, I can come back later for the dry goods. And I just love that so much. It's been so helpful. So you should definitely try that out. The second thing, this is not something that I discovered on my own. I saw this elsewhere, heard it elsewhere, and I've been implementing it, but it's to never leave a room empty-handed. So if you are going from the bedroom to the kitchen, or the kitchen to the bathroom, or whatever, there's usually always, at least in my house, there's usually always something that can go out of that room, something that's not supposed to be there. Whether from the bedroom, it would be like a glass on the nightstand that needs to go to the sink in the kitchen, or I don't know. I mean, obviously with kids, there's toys just all over the place. We're trying to control it better, but there's still a lot of toys. And so there's always things that need to go elsewhere. Maybe it's from the kitchen to the bathroom and you just need to take the broom to sweep up the bathroom floor while you're there. And it just goes hand in hand with the whole idea of if something takes less than 5 minutes to get it done, just go ahead and do it. Just go ahead and do it, or else it's all going to pile up, and then it's going to feel like you're just overwhelmed by the fact that it's going to take an entire Saturday to get your house cleaned or just tidied. But when in reality, if we did those little bitty things throughout the week, whenever we think about them, whenever we notice them, it would take us a whole lot less time because it wouldn't all be piled up together. So number 3, I have always used well, I guess really just since we moved into this house currently, but I've always used I can't even tell you the brand, the water filters in the fridge. It's not Brita, but it's something. Hydro, I think is what it is. Got them off Amazon. I really enjoy these filtered pitchers, and I had one for like maybe a couple of months, and then we had one of the girls' birthday parties like a year ago, and it got dropped and busted. It got like a crack down the front of it. Still worked perfectly fine, but the person who dropped it, my mama, she felt really bad and ended up ordering me a new one. So I told her, I was like, you do not have to do that. It still works. I mean, like if you fill it too high, then it leaks a little when it's coming out, but we just know not to fill it that high. Anyways, she got me one because that's who she is. So now I have 2, and honestly, I really love it that way because it is so much easier. Like when one water pitcher runs out and you fill it up and then put it back in the fridge, it's still warm, right? Until it gets refrigerated for a bit. So having 2, 1, you don't have to worry about refilling right at that very moment. You can leave it sitting out on the counter or in the sink until you get to that. And then 2, you already have cold water coming in. Like it's just great. I really recommend it. They're not that expensive. I know that, like, I think they're Blakelie filters, or I don't know. All those fancy ones are like several $100s for one. And I'm just not on board with that yet. Maybe one day I will be. Maybe I will. Someone convince me. I am convincible, but not right now. And so if you're into the less expensive water filter pitchers, then definitely check those out. I'll link them down below, and go ahead and get yourself 2. Okay, this one is going to shock you. It shocked me, but I feel like ladies of the past, men too, I guess, but they just really had methods to their madness. And nowadays we're like, oh, I don't do that. But anyways, without further ado, let me tell you what this point is. My point is, use smaller laundry baskets. Okay, and how does that relate to people of the past? I think it relates because, you know, our moms, our grandmas, all of these people, at least mine, in the South, in my family, and where I'm from, they separated their whites from their colors. They did, I mean, I still separate my delicates from my, like, casual everyday, and my knits from my silks and those kinds of things. But they had all of these, like, smaller categories of clothes that they washed. I do not separate colors from whites. Never have, unless it's a brand new red or pink piece of clothing. Then obviously I do that. But I just don't. I never have. I've never understood the point in it. And I've always, like, in the however many years I've been adulting, like, out on my own. I mean, I guess that's like 7 years. I don't know. And not that long in the grand scheme. However, I've just always admired the laundry baskets that are like one big basket and can hold so many of my clothes at one time. I don't have to think about the fact that they're overflowing onto the floor and I need to wash them. And I really love the kinds that have the dividers in them, but even though they don't really hold. However, lately, especially with my girls' clothes, I have started using smaller laundry baskets. I was using one large one for both of them, and it just felt like it filled up so quickly. And every time I did laundry, it took so long to get through the million little pieces of baby clothes. And I know that there's a reel going around on social media right now talking about how, like, you never knew adult satisfaction would be opening the dryer to find that you only have one large blanket to fold versus 50 million different pieces of kid clothes. That's true. It is so true. It is so true. So, point being, I split their baskets into two smaller ones. And now it, like, alternates in who needs their clothes washed at a time. And then when they do get washed, and don't get me wrong, sometimes I mix and overlap. So, like, I'll put some of Rosie's dirty clothes into Annie's basket, but still, it's so much less at one time. And I think that's the overall arching theme of this, all of these. That's what I'm learning. But anyways, I do recommend smaller laundry baskets. You will feel like you're doing laundry more often, but it'll be less when you do it. And it just makes laundry that much more enjoyable. Unless you like just having a full-on laundry day, but I've never been that girl. Never. So this one I've only been doing for like the last 2 weeks. Stay tuned to see how it is going down the road. But so far I'm really enjoying it, so I wanted to share it with you. And that is a daily expense list. So I have this planner. And it's just one that my grandmother found at a store, like a store where you go and get things at a very discounted price. So it was like $1. And she said, "Are you a planner girl? Because I thought maybe you were and I brought you this." I already have one that I use for my school stuff, but this I thought, well, I'll find a use for it. And this is the use, you guys. I've been using it for budget. And we have been doing a budget app that's really useful. It links to your bank account. It's kind of like the Dave Ramsey Every Dollar app, but it's free, which is a big plus. But it helps to categorize all of your expenses, and you can kind of see where your money's going and your cash flow, like the amount that you've spent versus the amount that you've made each month. It's very handy. However, I was still, first of all, we share a bank account, my husband and I, so you can only have one person from each bank account linked to it, right? It's just like one bank account, one person, and that's how it works. So, like, I can't get the app on my phone to see it. I have to look on his phone. So I was just having a really hard time seeing, like, where our money was going, what exactly we were spending it on. So recently what I've been doing is each afternoon, whenever we get home from school, me and the girls eat lunch, Annie goes down for her nap, Rosie's doing her quiet time, I work on office things. And this is a variety of stuff, but this takes like 2 seconds, and I love it so much because I just pull up our bank account and then I write out the expenses from the previous day, and then I go through with a highlighter and I just highlight them based on a color code because I am type A. Where are my people at? Where are you? But I don't highlight the things that are like necessary one-time expenses each month, like our bills per se, but the things like food, gas, and shopping, like miscellaneous shopping expenses that maybe were or were not planned, I want to highlight those things, and then I can just go through really quickly, like once a week or however often I want to, and see where our money is going, how often I'm spending money on food, and maybe where I need to cut back, or, you know, it's just easier to stay on top of throughout the month, in my opinion, whenever I'm going through it each day like that. And I'm not necessarily like trying to reconcile anything, but it's very convenient to be able to keep a close watch on it, but in a way that it doesn't take a ton of time. Once again, little by little, bit by bit, and not all an accumulation of everything all at once. It's much less overwhelming. I'm learning about myself today as I'm talking to you. And I feel like the lighting is changing drastically in here because it's starting to thunder outside. So I'm trying to get this in before I'm completely in the dark. But these last two are really just simple, brief. They're more like discipline hacks, and really not like tricks and stuff that I've been implementing. It's things that I'm trying to work on getting better at. So the first one is have less stuff. I did a declutter series, and then if you saw my back to school reset, I was still decluttering. So clearly I still have a long way to go in this area, but especially like as I'm going through rooms, trying to personalize them throughout our house and just get them pared down into such a way that it's manageable, that it's functional, and that it just feels very peaceful to be in our home, very relaxing. I am realizing that I do not want a piece of furniture on every wall. And that's just really odd to me because I really have always loved furniture. Like, I am all about some antique furniture, like roll top desks, curio cabinets, secretaries, all these things with like beautiful character and curves and brass knobs. And whenever you add all of that in on top of your actual furniture that's necessary for functioning, like dressers and beds and couches and those kinds of things, it just gets very cluttered, at least in our small spaces that we have here. So I'm just really trying to do better about having less stuff. Obviously, less toys, less kitchen clutter, gadgets, those kinds of things, but even furniture, which has been a surprise to me to have found out about myself in the recent past. And then lastly, this is really not a hack, but it's just something that I'm trying to get better about, and that is producing your own food, and lots of it. Because have you guys seen grocery prices lately? Wow. We've just been going through quite a bit in our household. If you've been here for the last few weeks, then you know what's going on, but I have not felt like cooking a ton, so I have resorted to freezer meals. You know me, but like I said before in one of my other videos, that is not really my style. I love having more control over the ingredients going into our meals, but sometimes the mental capacity, you just have to do what you have to do in certain seasons of life. And freezer meals are dang expensive, you guys. Like a Stouffer's lasagna that is like the family size. I mean, I think they call it like the party size or something, but let's be real. If you want a meal for you, your spouse, and 2 toddlers, and then to have any leftovers the next day for him to take to lunch, you need the party size, because the family size is going to be gone. Like, we had, I think, this much left after one meal of the family size. So anyways, the party size of that thing is like $20. Do you know what it costs to make lasagna at home? Like maybe 5, maybe same size, maybe 5. So I'm trying to do better about making our food, but even like, you know, I've always been one to make our meals, mostly in pregnancy. My husband really came in clutch. He did a lot of that, but as a household, we've always made a lot of our own meals. We eat out every so often, but we try to cook our meals at home for the most part. But even like to the point of looking through my grocery list and seeing what the most expensive items are, and then trying to figure out how I can make those myself. So some of those things are really, really hard. Partially because my husband and everybody around me tells me that I do not want a dairy cow, no matter how many times I tell them I do. I still think I might. But one of our girls has a lactose sensitivity, and so I cannot tell you how disappointed I am that when we moved her from formula to milk, we did not get a raise in our bank account. Like it basically stayed the same. And that's just really depressing because, yeah, that was not what we expected. But my point being, I'm trying to figure out how to make these things cheaper. And that's one that I may just have to sacrifice on, at least for a season, and down the road when the girls are big enough to help me with farm chores on a bigger level than what they are right now, you wait, it's coming. We have a barn. We have a 3-bay barn. We can hold a cow. Now, the grass that they need to graze and that kind of stuff, we don't have that, but we have the barn. But yeah, like meat is so expensive right now, so we're trying to figure out how we can source our own of that. And we have local farmers that we have been using for beef, which is great. But we're just kind of looking into chicken and pork and some other things that are really exciting. And yeah, none of this is like, you know, it could just be all talk. But the point is, we're trying to figure out how to produce more of our own and if it's feasible. We've tried a garden this year, and I plan to do another garden tour for you, but I'm just gonna go ahead and give you a little spoiler alert. It's not been overly successful. We've had a couple of things that we've gotten from it, but we've learned a ton. And I think that's what the main point of this first year was. We did a really small scale so that we could learn, and the next year we're gonna do a larger scale with the things that have went well and with the things that we've learned implementing those. So I think it's going to be much better next year. And then we'll be able to can or freeze and preserve a lot of our own vegetables in that way, which would be great because you guys, groceries. Like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I spent almost $300 on groceries, and we've almost went through it. I think it was like a week and a half ago. So that's just crazy. Everybody knows, everybody's hurting right now by the cost of basic goods. But if there's anything that I can do with my time and my skill set, if I can work on any of these things to help us save in those areas, then I want to be able to do that. And I think it's good to be able to know how to do these things as well. So I am going to leave you with all of that to chew on. I'm so glad that you came along today. Please be sure to share any of your homemaking hacks from this current season of life or past that maybe you were in my shoes with 2 very small kids or more and you figured out what worked best for you. I'd love to know about them. Drop them down below in the comments. See you next time. Bye.